Welcome back to this LM-1 repair, and we're going to trace out this board completely. And to help me, I've got some hex standoffs so we can help raise the board off the ground so that we don't damage that PCB underneath. So there, now you can see we can safely flip this over and not disturb anything underneath there. Excellent. So before we do anything, I am going to make backups of these ROMs. EPROM B was the easiest one to get out. EPROM C has a leg pulled out with a wire attached to it. So we'll just check this. Let's read the contents of this EPROM A. That read okay. And let's verify. Oh dear. Okay, so let's just see how many changes there are. 35. Let's do another verify. Oh, to go back. $55. So this EPROM has got some bit rot. $51. It's changing. Okay, let's put in EPROM C. Okay, so we've got EPROM C in now. Okay, can actually talk to it. And let's do verify. Yep, this has problems as well. 190, significantly more. Let's just save that. And verify again. $242. So I think this EPROM is severely bit rot. So I'm going to take some drastic action here. I'm actually going to take copies of all these sound ROMs. Not too concerned about the state of them at the moment, but let's get them backed up. Okay, they're all nicely labelled. I will take them out one by one anyway so we don't get them mixed up. But I definitely think it's worthwhile just saving these as they are. Well. So this was a very worthwhile endeavour indeed. So I've mapped out all the address lines and the digital data lines to the ROM chips and the RAMs, and everything works out good. And I checked it with the chips installed, so I knew that the connection was actually getting to the pin legs. And then the next thing was to check the chip select lines, and these lead down to this logic circuits here. Now, can you see this red box? What's inside that red box is what's underneath the board here. So I was quite surprised to find this quite important circuitry on this bottom board. But it does select the low and high RAMs, and I think it's really the standard memory or the extended memory. But when I took this chip out and we check it on the meter and we test this IC, so the fourth one, which I think is this one here, is wrong. So I'm hoping the fact that this IC is not working correctly is why the machine isn't booting up. And if anyone else has come here to look at one of these machines, there's also this Schmidt trigger here, which is actually mounted on top of this OR gate. So if we look at the PCB, this is the OR gate that is faulty, and on here, I don't know if you can see, is a stacked. There's the it's a 74 LS02 OR gate, and they've put the Schmidt trigger chip on top, and they've cut all the legs off and grounded them, the ones that aren't used. The O2 underneath, they actually cut a leg off to the bottom board. So when I tested that chip, I had to make a wire to put it in the meter, okay, but I know that that O2 is working, and when I get some replacement O2s, I think I might as well replace that one as well, because they're probably of the same age. And while I've got this whole thing out, I will finish off just double checking all this logic is connected correctly. There's no point rushing this back in the machine. I mean, I know it looks complicated, but it should only take about half an hour. Also, just got to this voltage regulator here. They got the pin outs wrong. Pin 3 should be the output, and pin 2 should be the ground. Okay, so I've put it back together now. We've replaced all the broken decade counters, and we've replaced the LS02, which was controlling the RAM high and low lines. I've ordered a complete set of new RAMs now, so I have to give them a go. Still not sure if they're 100% legitimate, but they look good on the scope, and I tested them. So I've got the original ROMs back in. We've got the battery connected. Let's turn it on. Okay, that's not untypical for Z80 to have to reboot a few times for it to sort itself out. We've got kick and snare. We don't have hi-hat, but we've heard the sample play in the previous video. Claps we've never heard. That's still hi-hat, open hi-hat. Capacitors are okay. Tambourine. Tom's not triggering, but we've heard the toms before. Ooh, the congas. So we're triggering sounds. Looks like the sequencer start-stop's working. Got to tread carefully here because we know we have bit rot on those EPROMs. And just to confirm something, I'm going to power down, and actually, before I carry on, I want to see if we have voltage at the EPROM. Because if we do, I'm going to have to disconnect the battery. I know that it keeps the RAM alive. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any voltage there. So we've got the power off. We're going to lift the B chip. And we're going to put my new fresh B chip in here. And we'll see if that makes any difference. So everything is acting the same and replacing that B chip. So at the moment I'm in write safe mode, which is quite important because we know the OS is going to have some issues. If we start writing to the wrong bits of RAM, things are going to go south quickly. So let's see what happens if we enable the RAM. Right rather. Can I record? As I expected, it went nuts. So we'll put the write safe back on, and now I'm pretty sure that the RAM is going to be messed up. Okay, so there's stuff happening now. This is really good and making progress. These two ROMs here, C particularly, is particularly bad. So after a couple of restarts, I've actually managed to get the sequencer running. And although the display doesn't show anything, you can even select patterns. Okay, that's interesting. After another couple of restarts, now we have the hi-hats. And to show how much of the sequencer is working, let's program a beat. And we can even erase the kick if we need. And then we can reprogram it. And even though the display isn't working, we can choose pattern 1. We can even switch between the patterns. But it's still very random on the boot up. Okay, so if we protect the RAM, we switch off, does it stay in the memory? Yeah. So that's another win. I have 3 new 2716 EPROMs, which I'm going to use to experiment with. The last thing I want to do is burn over any of the original EPROMs, because they're so rare, and that's our only chance of getting the unit back working to even the state it's in now. So I'm just going to rebuild the hardware by putting this dip socket soldered onto the EPROM A. So my battle plan is to try and use the LM-1 to use the consensus method to try and rebuild these EPROMs. I'll take like 150 reads of each EPROM, and hopefully we might be able to make a reconstruction of what the data should be. Works really good for pictures and for audio, because an odd pixel missing here and there isn't really going to make a difference. On the program, a bit different. Okay, some time has passed and I did about 3 5-hour sessions on Claude AI, because I was using the large language model to analyse these chips, because the machine was very erratic on booting up. Sometimes it would remember the pattern, sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes it wouldn't start at all. So because of the bit rot in these EPROMs, EPROM B was actually perfect all the time, which is lucky, because with a bit of analysis this turns out to be the sequencer code, and that explains why when it did run all the sequencer functions seemed to be working correctly. EPROM A is actually a boot EPROM, so that's very important, and I was able to discover why some of my reads from this, or none of the reads that I ever made, would actually boot the machine. And with analysis using the LM-1, we found that there were some bad photo cells in the actual boot sector part of the program. So that was very interesting. EPROM C seems to be for all the button presses and things like that. So I wasn't able to really reconstruct the code using the LM-1. It did quite a good job. I did manage to make an A that would boot, but then it just boots into a garbage OS. And then I sat down and thought about it, and this is not really documented anywhere. So for all your EPROM fans out here, this bit rotten EPROM A, when I put it into the machine, I mean, using the standard VCC verify on this XG Pro software. So if we do a read from the chip, it does a read, and as we learned before, now when we try and verify that, it always comes back with errors. So a little trick that you can do is we raise the VCC verify, and you only have to do this by quarter of a volt. Now let's read this chip. So we've read that, and we're still at the 5.5 volt. And if we verify, now it verifies successfully. And I used that same method on EPROM C, and that verified successfully as well. Now I still don't know if there's any bit rotten data on these chips, because the toms are still not triggering and there's still no display, but that still could be hardware. So hopefully we've actually got good reads of these EPROMs, and hopefully they'll be now not unobtainium. So now I have fresh new EPROMs, which takes us to exactly the same state as it was before, only now they're not rotting away. And here's a little tip for you: if you have a chip where you have to pull a leg off to run a wire or something, I just soldered another dip socket on top of that one. As you can see, there's some light. There's the two chips, but I soldered another one. So this chip enable line, I can then just use a crocodile chip, and it's really easy to swap out the EPROMs then without breaking the legs. I actually did break the leg off the original C chip. Luckily there was enough metal on there so that I could actually solder a wire for more reading and examination. So I think this video is quite long enough. We've made some incredible progress. I've managed to get the operating system on new EPROMs and booting. We're still not 100% sure if the code has any more corruption. There's enough on there for it to boot and run the sequencer. The display's still not working. We have no clap and we have no toms. We have heard the toms before, so I doubt whether it's anything to do with the tom circuitry. The clap EPROM I have double checked, and that verified okay, so that doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the EPROM on the clap side of things. So we've still got a little bit more debugging to do, find out why the displays aren't working and the extra two buttons. But at least now, every time you turn on, it's a very clean boot, and even the sequencer is remembering all the patterns. So, look forward to the next episode where we try and get this thing fully on its feet, and hopefully the code is actually okay on those EPROMs. So wish us luck, catch you next time.